Good morning, everyone. How's everybody today? Are you blessed? Are you excited on this cold day with snow on the ground? All right, you can be seated. Before we have a seat here, just wanted to thank God for this day and, of course, for our awesome lead pastor, Joshua Williams, right? Very appreciative and thankful for him because our church is shifting, it's changing, it's growing, it's going in a great direction, and he was the answer and the need to what Dr. Martin and Dr. Linnell needed for their next, right? And then also, of course, we always give honor to our founding pastors because what you're going to hear today from us is not stuff we just conjured up out of the blue. It came from what we learned from them. Yes.
We would not be who we are, where we are. We might not even be together if it wasn't for them. I always tell them, they're like, why did we come to Omaha? Because we would have never met had they not come here. So thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for your commitment when it was hard, when it was ugly, when you were wondering if you were doing the right thing, because you impacted our life. Yeah. And all these people in here right now who won't admit it to, but all of us are blessed by you.
Right. So we're excited to share with you today, and we have some interesting things that I think you might find funny and entertaining, but they all have a purpose behind what we're saying, and we hope to impart into you some information about relationships today, all right? All right.
All right. Tila and Jacob are going on their second date. They met through some mutual friends who told them they would make a great couple. Their first date went good. Jacob showed up early with flowers, opened the car door, and was very attentive. And he took Tila to a really nice restaurant, and they had a great time. But now they're on the second date, and things seem a little off. When Jacob picked Tila up tonight, he didn't open the car door. And Tila was surprised when they got to the restaurant because it was nowhere near as nice as the last place, and she made sure she told him that. Now, when they got to the restaurant, he didn't pull her chair out either, like he did last time. The waitress comes to the table right away and shares what's on the menu for the night. Tila interrupts her immediately, asking about the specials, which, of course, we all know are the most expensive things on the menu. And Jacob curtly puts in his order. Doesn't seem to be going very hot over there right now. So when the waitress leaves, Tila starts telling Jacob about her day, going on and on and on about her annoying coworkers. And Jacob shakes his head, sneaking his phone under the table, scrolling through TikTok. Occasionally, Jacob tries to ask Tila about what she enjoys doing. But it seems to be mostly shopping and superficial things. So he gives up and goes back to the date on his phone. Tila tries to ask him about his friends. Who are they? How long have they been friends? And he admits he doesn't have any good friends. Most of his friends are only friends for a short period of time, and then they lose touch for some reason. That doesn't really make sense to Tila. Finally, the food arrives, which Jacob is very excited about, and that eases some of the tension in the room. Tila finds it interesting that Jacob has no focus on anything except eating the food as fast as he can. And the moment he's done eating, he immediately asks for the check. He's a little surprised when he sees the total. Then he remembers Tila ordered the special. He argues with the waitress a bit. Tila seems very frustrated about this. Finally, Jacob shakes his head, pays the check, and takes Tila home. This was not a good second date. I don't know that there's going to be a third.
No, I don't think there's going to be a third date. We wanted to show you that real quick because oftentimes there are flags, red flags, yellow flags in relationships that we ignore. And rather than talking about these things, you see the responses of the people on the stage, right, between Tila and Jacob. We chose Jacob's name for that reason. Jacob means trickster, right? And often we see things and we don't really understand the depth of what we're seeing because we don't involve the right people. We don't talk to the right personnel. We're not involving our, lead pastors, coaches, mentors, mom and dad, families. And there's so many things in this skit that I saw. Like the first thing, one of the things that pops out is Tila was upset about the restaurant.
Yeah, remember that cheesecake isn't good enough for me comment?
Y'all seen that on social media. Don't tell me you don't know.
I'm not going to a date on Cheesecake Factory. And I was like, I kind of think Cheesecake Factory is a nice place to go on a date. Like she immediately had expectations on a second date, like she was owed.
Something more.
Owed something. There's no commitment here. This is a second date. We're still trying to figure out if we like each other.
Right.
Or if I even want to talk to you like ever again.
Yes.
And she's got super high expectations. The other thing is, I don't know if you noticed, but like she noticed he seemed off and she never asked what was going on. What if he had a hard day? What if he got bad news? She didn't seem to really care what was happening because she was just interested in talking about what was happening in her day.
Yeah. And then the other thing is Jacob was scrolling on TikTok. He just seemed disconnected, not involved in the date. Has anyone in here ever been on a date and you're like, is this person with me here or right?
Finding their next date on
right.
Some
Are they
app.
swiping left on somebody and maybe right on some folks while I'm here at the table?
They're scheduling their next date.
Right. Yeah.
And I think part of the tough part about the flags is people think, I don't know why we think this. If you see something, like, okay, they say in some places, if you see something, say something. Okay, that applies to your relationships too. If you see something, say something. You cannot just assume it will get better. Can I tell you a secret? People generally show their best self at the beginning. If their best self is a red flag, that is a sign to get your stuff and call an Uber and run. Because people show their best first. And if their best scares you, you don't want to see what their worst is like.
No, you do not.
But also, to that point, when you don't have conversations, what if it was a bad day? What if he just found out someone in his family passed away and he was having a tough time? When you don't ask questions, then you make assumptions, which we all know what they do to you and me, but we make assumptions about situations and then we never really find out, could that have been a good thing and I just didn't ask any questions? Some people, maybe you don't know this, are socially awkward.
They do exist.
I'm one of them. Sometimes I ran, kind of like, where'd that come from? I don't know. It felt awkward.
You're not socially awkward, babe.
It felt weird.
You're not socially awkward.
Okay, sometimes I feel weird.
Sometimes you do. Now, I will say this, and it's a family joke. She does laugh kind of like a evil British villain. When Rebecca gets in her back laughing, she'll laugh. She's like, oh, you're like, you sound like you belong in like a British movie, and you're like the villain in the movie.
I'm just saying, sometimes.
But that's not awkward, I'm just saying.
But sometimes we might think, you can make an assumption of people, and it could be they don't know how to explain themselves.
Yeah.
They don't know how to voice
They could be
what they're
nervous.
thinking. They could be nervous. They could be intimidated. But when we don't ask questions, then you get what you just got, and you don't know. Maybe that could have gone further. Maybe it would have ended at that date, but you don't know because we didn't seek further explanations.
And in this example, is it possible that these two people were not truly how they expressed themselves at that date? Because of external circumstances, it's possible that whatever was going on influenced their behavior, much like it influences your behavior today. And you come, what's going on with you? Nothing.
It's never nothing.
It's never nothing. It's always something, but we portray those things. It's possible that maybe because they didn't ask questions, they didn't get clarification, they didn't involve the right people, that now this relationship will go nowhere because no one asked any of the questions. And it's interesting, I find it interesting that people make decisions off of first impressions alone without understanding clarification. You can't just make an assumption about what you see without asking. Now, some things are pretty obvious, right? Can we agree? Some things are obvious, but there are a lot of things that you might need to understand where they're coming from, because your perception is a filter in which you see life and experiences through. So when someone does something, it may not be the way you see it. It's just the way you see it, not the way they meant it.
It's the way you see it, not the way it actually is. Because your perception is personal to you. So all of us could watch the same interaction and get a totally different viewpoint on that same situation.
Yes. Much like today, there are going to be a lot of you here, you're going to hear a lot of things, and there are going to be things you're going to pick up that someone else doesn't pick up based upon their perception, based upon their experiences, and what's going on in their life.
Yep.
Right? So we'll tell you a little bit about how we met, right? And before I do that, I think it's up here already. This is the title for today. It is Finding Love, is Staying in Love, and Keeping It Hot. Okay, and we're going to talk about all these three things and how, and they all relate and connect to this story in another video we're going to show you a little bit later on. But Rebecca and I met here at AWC. At the time, it was Harvest Tabernacle.
At the time, we were off of 24th and St. Mary's.
24th and St. Mary at a building down there. And I was 19.
When we met?
Yes.
Yes, we met. I was 17.
Right. So she just graduated high school. I was in my second year of college. And here's the thing that was interesting. We met each other, but we never crossed each other's mind. Not like, hey, what's up? It was like we met each other. It's like, oh, okay, she's cool, right? Because at the time, honestly, I was seeing someone else, right? And as we went through life, we're going through college. Some things happened traumatically to me in my life, and it was good that God did not show her to me then because I went through a period of pure hell. My mom could tell you it was about a year and a half where I just went, listen, I crashed out. I lost my godmother, and I was very close to her, loved her dearly, and the pressure of that, the pressure of being a first person in college, all this pressure was on me, and I just crashed out, y'all. I was just out in the streets, just being real. 100, right? Out in the streets doing all the things I should not be doing. But because the way I was raised, I was continually coming to the house of God, and I'd be crying on the altar, God, I shouldn't have done that last night. I shouldn't have been there. I should have been until I got my life together. Because if he had exposed her to me before I was prepared and my heart was in the right place, I would have ruined this. Yeah. We may not even be married because the way she was rolling, Rebecca don't play, y'all. Okay, I got a real woman that has no problem telling I don't go for that, right? So, but one day what happened is, and our friends, Jason, David Atkins, David Finklia, all these, there was a big group of us that used to hang out all the time. We called ourselves Impact. You remember that, Jason? Impact. And we actually went around with pastors in some different places, and we were 20-somethings basically we were just excited about God. But we would often meet in places, and we were all going to meet at the Applebee's on 72nd and Dodge, right? And we were going to go to Applebee's, and we were going to, I think, go to dinner or something.
I think we were going to go to a movie afterwards.
Yeah, we're going to a movie, right?
It was supposed to be like 20 people.
Right.
And then the next thing you know, everyone has plans.
Everybody's like, oh, I'm not going to make it. I'm going to make it. We're getting all these.
And it ended up just being
and this is like,
just us.
Cell phones new, right? It's brand new, 1990, but 2000.
It'd have been 2000.
Early 2000. And cell phones was new. So we're getting calls, I'm not going to make it. And I'm like, what is going on? So we were just there at Applebee's. I'm like, you're here, I'm here. Let's just sit down and eat. Let's have dinner. Cool. The more I talked to this woman, the more I was intrigued by her. And then I was like, man, this chick is dope. I like this girl. I really do. Now, she played it off like she didn't like me, like I didn't have no swag, and I wasn't like, and she was like, no, I ain't gonna let you know. She led me on for what?
I did not
lead
you on.
A week, 2 weeks, didn't say nothing, didn't say, yeah, I like you, didn't say no.
Like 30 minutes. I don't know what you're talking about.
She's not telling the truth, y'all. She's not telling the truth.
That's the evil British laugh coming
No,
out
this
right
is not the truth. But all jokes aside, that night I saw her. Mm-hmm. God opened my eyes to her, and out of 9 days, we went out on 7 dates. I talked to her father. Can I take? Yeah, all that. And in 9 days, 7 dates. We were going to this restaurant, going that. We're going because I wanted to get to know this woman. And probably it was about a week and a half later, about the sixth date, I dropped her off at the house again after having dinner, and she asked, she's like, do you like me? I'm like, what do you mean, do I like you? I've been taking you to dinner. We've been going out. We went out like every day.
Again, if you don't ask clarifying questions, you could be making assumptions about something.
I'm doing all the things.
I was a friend who happened to be a girl, or if he was looking at me like a girlfriend. So yes, I did ask the question.
But wait, I wasn't Jacob. I wasn't playing tricks.
Hold up, no. So I asked him the question, do you like me or what? And he was like, yeah. I said, okay, thanks. And then I got out of the car and left.
Close the door and went in the house.
I sure did.
What's the natural response to that question, gentlemen? If she says, if you say to me, do you like me? And I'm like, yeah, I like you. Okay, get out the car.
Let me ask
What do you expect her to do? I like you too. No, I didn't get none of that. She just got the car, went in the house.
Hold up. Girls, how many of you are tired of being the first one to always say, I like you first? And I was like, I ain't doing that with this one. I'm going to make him say it first, and I'm going to let him sweat a little bit just to see if it's truly there. So that was for me. Okay, so can I share my part?
Yes, you can,
So you
babe.
shared your part.
Yes.
So I was not doing what you were doing the year before we met.
No.
I was not doing that. 19, college, I got a job at a factory. It's local. I'm not going to throw the name out there. But I happened to, so a year before we met, this older man was trying to talk to me. So I'm 19, he's 33. I know you can already hear the bad.
OG.
I know you can already hear. But I'm telling you, when you feel like there are no options, you can begin to buy into this idea of, what if this is all there is for me? And thank God, I had a dad that he scared me in a good way. I was like, I cannot do things because he will always find out. He knows everybody, and so nothing happened. I'm so happy to say that nothing happened with that person. And I remember Shake the Nations, it was 2000, and that year for Shake the Nations, the conference, everybody was laid out. Do you remember that? On that Wednesday or Thursday night, everyone's laid out in worship during the conference. I'm laid out. I was on the team back then. I'm laid out in the back on the stage, and I clearly remember God saying, Rebecca, do you really think this is what I had in plan for you? I had in store for you? Like, you know he doesn't have your most important quality. You don't know how he feels about me. And I would always pray the prayers, God, if it's not you, break it off. God, if it's not you. And he was like, this one, I need you to end. This is what he told me. I can't talk to other people, but he's like, I need you to know that you have the power to also end bad relationships in your own life. You don't need me to interrupt everything. So I remember that was the most awkward breakup ever in a factory. There's like a giant bin in between us. And I was like, it's not going to work. That's all. It's not going to work.
It's not going to work because your boy was over here in the cut.
Yes.
Wait.
Yes. But while in between those times, I remember God saying, Rebecca, now it's time for me and you. It's time for me and you. You need to get to know you, and you need to get to know me. And we need to be good if this is all it ends up being for the rest of your life. And
that's a good point.
That was what I needed. I needed time to say, what do I like? Can I be alone with my own thoughts?
Right.
Can I be alone with myself? Can I just be me and God, and I'm good, and I'm not always looking for somebody else to fill in parts that I don't like about me? So that's what I was working on before you met.
But see, the same thing here is that God was working on with that. When God sent a friend of mine. He's a pastor in North Carolina. Gary Lee came in town for a conference, and he told me, the person I was dating at the time, he said, listen, he known me not even a week. He says, God told me to tell you, you got to break that off. She is not for you. And then he says these words. This is what got to me. If you don't do it, God said he will. I was like, man, get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here with that. But guess what happened? It ended. Mm-hmm. And God got me to a place where I was like, God, listen, if it ain't you, I don't want to play these games. Yeah. I don't want to be messing around dating this person and dating that. Give me a good option. And I said, until I'm ready, do not reveal this person to me. Mm-hmm. So I went into my prayer closet. I went and did the work on myself. I went to fall on my knees before God. Mm-hmm. I read my Bible. I discovered myself, started to understand what Kylan meant, right? Which means steadfast, consistent, you're faithful. So I'm like, I just discovered all these things about myself so I could be prepared and ready for the woman that I would desire to have as a wife. Yeah. And that's when God revealed her to me, after I went through this process of discovering God and me being totally comfortable with, guess what? If I never get married, I'm good with you, God.
I'm good with you.
And y'all like, don't pray that. I'm just telling you. You have to get to a place.
You do.
You got to get to a place where you're comfortable being with yourself, because guess what? You can be married and still be alone.
Yeah.
You can be married and be alone in the house with someone. with no emotional connection, with no desire, with no love and no passion. So you got to know who you are, and they have to know who they are, so you guys can come together and build something worth
Because the only thing that can complete me is God, not Kylan.
No.
We don't complete each other. We complement each other.
But why do we complete each other? Why do we complement each other? We complement each other because
we know that.
Because we understand these two scriptures. Matthew 18:19. And that scripture is not just talking, I mean, most people just assume it's about the agreement between two people. Yes, it is. And it relates to this sermon here, what we're talking about. But it's about reconciliation to God from sin. It's about understanding that you have the power to bind and loose things on earth, which is important when it comes to relationships, because you're like, I'm waiting for my husband, have you loosed him? And are you prepared in your own life to receive him?
And have you loosed yourself from all the other previous
from the stuff
relationships
you're struggling with right now? See, some people want to wait for the pastor to come lay hands on them, but the truth is that you have the same power and authority in your own body and life to declare what it is you want to see and to release yourself from things that are binding you right now.
Can I say this? I told this to somebody the other day. Somebody was telling me, they were talking about their health, and they were struggling with diabetes, and I said, can I tell you something no one's ever told you? You have always been in charge of your own health. The only way the pastor I'm not saying it doesn't mean sense, it doesn't help when a pastor lays hands on you, but you know the most powerful person that can lay hands on you is you. When you decide, I am done with whatever it is I'm struggling with, you can be done. You don't need, when you agree with God, you have just made a majority. You've both just decided we can do this. And sometimes we are kept up because we are waiting for someone else to co-sign what God's like. Rebecca, we just need me and you to agree. If we agree, we don't need somebody else to step in and agree with us. So we have to learn to agree. So when we come together, and that's what a marriage is coming together on agreement. Amos 3:3 says, how can two walk together unless they agree? So we talked about some of the things we agreed on, because I'm being honest. Yes, he was cute. I had seen a lot of cute.
I was what?
Cute, you were cute. But cute only goes so far.
That's true.
I have seen a whole lot of cute people fake. I've been in church my whole life. I've seen a whole lot of people play in church. I did not want to talk to a man who was playing church because he had a couple scriptures memorized. He could say a couple things that sounded good. Let me tell you something. If he's really good with talking, he's probably practiced. So if he can talk you into something, you might not be the first person he's tried to talk into. So that doesn't impress me. What impressed me is on a Sunday when he was struggling without other people paying attention. He was laid out on the floor in worship. That impressed me. We were at a praise and worship practice. Do you remember that praise and worship practice where he was just like, I'm done. I think he was sick. Something else was going on. He comes running up the stairs in the old building and just laid out on the floor during worship. We were practicing, and it was like, that person has something. They have what I have because I have that, because I can recognize when somebody else has the same relationship I have. So that was something we agreed on. We agreed on faith. I was not going to play church. My dad was an assistant. My dad was an associate pastor when I was a kid. So I knew I'm not playing God. I told God when I was little, listen, either you work or you don't work. Either you're real or you're not real, but I'm not playing with this. Like, either you're going to show up in my life like you showed up in Abraham and Isaac and Jacob's life, or I will just call you right before I die if that's all you can do is rescue me from hell. I did not want that kind of life. So I was like, God, I want you for real. And so I knew him for real. So I only wanted to be with someone who also knew him for real.
But here's the thing, though. Because we understood that, because we were in our positions in our place, doing the right thing at the right time, we could agree. Yeah. We could do what Amos 3:3 says, right? So there was not just alignment between us and God, but there was alignment between us and God, right? Yes. Because we had a relationship with him, we were able to see each other, but there was that spiritual alignment, which is so key in making a determination for a mate when you're trying to find love. See, we get this interesting question sometimes. How did you two fall in love? And I find that a funny and interesting question when people say, how do you fall in love? How did y'all fall in love? Tell us the story how you fell in love. And I find that question interesting because, most people, when you say falling in love, it's like, I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that coming. That just happened, right? It's like you've been out at a basketball court or something, the ball bounces off the hoop and bops you in the head. Didn't see that coming, just happened, right? But oftentimes when people say, how did you two fall in love? You know, I kind of view it a little bit just like this video we're going to show you real quick, all right? Take a look at this. Man, I can't wait to see this movie. Let's stop and get some snacks or something, you know what I'm saying? I just can't wait till they, you know. That's going to be...
You all right? You good?
Yeah, I think I'm okay. I just fell in love.
Love is a choice, not an accident.
So when people ask me, how you two meet, how'd y'all fall in love? That's what I think about. I'm like, you don't fall in love. It's not something you're tripped into. It's not something you're tricked into. It's not something you stumble into. Your love is a verb and it's a choice. Now, your choice in finding love is connected to like your perception. It's connected to your experiences in life. It's connected to how you've been raised. It's connected to things that you desire out of a spouse or a partner, right? But it's not something that happens by accident. So I want to erase and eradicate that whole thing about I just fell in love.
Yeah, attraction happens by accident. You could be like, oh,
I didn't know that
I didn't know they could look like that.
I didn't know, yeah, right?
Attraction is accidental.
It is true, because like when you don't see it, you may not know it. You were aware that you liked that, right? For example, I remember when we were youth pastors years ago, we would tell all the kids coming out of high school going into college, I'm like, just wait till you get to college. They're like, what do you mean? I said, at college, there's a whole nother gamut of people you're going to see. Whether you are a guy looking at girls or girls looking at, you're going to be like, I didn't know they made them like that. And it does not change. In high school, you're like, oh, everybody's, oh, she's cute. She is.
And college is different.
College is different because you get open to a whole nother world. My point is that that love is really a choice, and that choice is affected by your emotions. It's affected by your experiences, and it's affected by your self-perception.
Yep.
See, this is why, you got to hear this. It's affected by your self-perception because if you don't see yourself right, this is why the spiritual alignment is so key. This is how someone can love an abusive person. This is how some people can love a narcissist. This is how people fall in love, right? Fall in love with a selfish person. It's how they find love with controlling people, with takers, because they don't have proper self-view of themselves, and because they're not really aligned with God and His Word, they can't really see what it is they really need and desire. They see a skewed version of it.
Yep.
Like some people wear glasses, contacts. You can see good to a point. Some of y'all can't see it all. I'm one of them, right? But when I put that lens on, when you put the Word of God and the Spirit of God in your life, you now can see clearly. You now have 20/20 vision, if not better. So you can see a good thing coming or see a bad thing coming.
Yep.
Right? Okay. All right.
So talking about like how we chose. So again, I'm like, okay, he was cute. Okay, that's not number one on my list. Number one on my list, Rebecca's list, is I need you to love God like I love God. I need this to be real for you. I need to know that like God is not something that happens between 9:30 a.m. on Sunday until 12 p.m. on Sunday. And then the rest of the week, we do whatever we want and we live however we want. Like we read our Bible on Sunday, maybe Wednesday if there's Bible study. I've seen that. I did not want that kind of life. So when we were talking about preferences, some of the things that Pastor Josh talked last week about like the filter. So my filter wasn't immediately, are you cute? My filter is, I remember Pastor Martin said this to me years ago. He said, Rebecca, can he teach you anything? So let me tell you, there's two ways I can hear it. Number one, does he have anything I don't know that he can teach me? Can he add to my life? But the other part that I heard Pastor Martin asking is, Rebecca, and are you willing to learn? There are some people there's some people you're like, I am not willing to accept that from you. Don't marry somebody that you're not willing to accept something from.
But that goes both ways.
That goes both ways. Like, let's not let's not add to our life. Because again, I love that the Glenn shared that. I did not know they were both firstborn. We're both firstborn.
So
we have some, we've had some fun conversations in our marriage and in our relationship.
Everybody understand the firstborn thing?
So firstborn thing, any firstborns in here?
Right.
Please raise your hand.
Right.
Let me explain.
You're never wrong.
We're
You're
never wrong. We're always right.
Always right.
We're always the responsible one.
Right.
Because we're the one that would get in trouble if everybody else was acting crazy,
Exactly.
even if we had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
And again, we're always right.
Right.
We're always right.
And number 4, we're always right.
And number 4 is we're always right.
Yeah.
So when it came to like who we were choosing, it had a lot to do with, and we've told our siblings this too. It's not fair when you invite people into your relationship and you're already fully sold on the whole thing. You've been secretly seeing them for 6 months. You're already hooked. I don't want to mess my makeup, but you already got a hook in your mouth. It's really far in there. And you're like, tell me you love them too. I just met them.
Right.
I want to ask a whole lot of hard questions. I want to be like, who are you? Where's your parents? When's the last time when did you talk to your parents? So it's not fair to bring people in when you're already sold. Because what you don't want is, you don't really want input.
Nope.
You want a cosigner. You want everybody to just agree with what you've chosen, and you've had no wise counsel. Because let me tell you what's missing when you're there. You've got rose-colored glasses on.
Yep.
You are missing all the flags. You have changed the color of all the flags to green in your glasses that are shaded by attraction and appeal. They all look green. And the rest of our like, those are all the colors except for green right now. And that's why you need people that don't want to date the person you like in your life. I find it hilarious that we think we pick good friends until we try to date. And then we're like, my friends are jealous. No, they're not.
They hating.
Maybe they just see things you don't want to own up to seeing. What were you looking for, Kylan?
No, but I was looking. Listen, I wanted a woman that loved God first. She had to be beautiful, which you are, which is great. But guess what? I was mostly looking for someone that I wasn't looking for anyone of a specific color, ethnicity, or race. I was looking for a woman with the right heart for God. This woman had the right heart for God. And this is kind of a sidebar, but I find it interesting when people say, hey man, how's it dating outside your race? And I'm like, what race? The human race?
Oh yeah, we got to hear that because that was 25 years ago.
And I was just like, and I'm just kind of like, well, I don't understand the whole thing. For me, it's more of, does this person fit where I'm going? Can we hitch each other? Can we hitch our train together and go in the same direction? Are we equally yoked? Are we able to really? Are we spiritually aligned? Mm-hmm. Because oftentimes you're connected with people. They're good people. They're not good for you.
Yes.
Right? They're good people. They're not good for you. So you involving your friends, your family, leaders at your church, your mentors. It's important because when you do that, you have to be willing and available to listen to what they're telling you, good, bad, or indifferent. Because there's things that they see that you don't see because you think they're cute. You think she's fine. She's like, oh, man, that's fine. But does she have the right heart to raise the kind of children you want in your house?
Yeah.
Is she going to birth the nation you want? That got Samson into trouble, didn't it? Mm-hmm. It got Samson into trouble. Looking at the physicality of a person only, but not looking at the heart and the intent.
I would say it got David into trouble.
Half
of his kids either tried to kill each other or tried to kill him.
Yeah.
And it all had to do with who are you choosing. So for the men who are out here, do you know who teaches the values to your children? It's not you. It's me. It's the wife teaches the values. So you better make sure that you agree with the values, that they're not just saying, but what are they living by? Because their life should match what's coming out of their mouth.
Right. So the next thing we're going to talk about a little bit is how to choose. So we told you what we looked for and how our story went, but how do you choose? Mm-hmm. Let us talk to you about how do you choose, right? The first thing is this.
You look at their lifestyle.
You look at their lifestyle. Are they disciplined? Think about that. Are they disciplined? Discipline can show up in a lot of ways. Are they on time? Are they driven to succeed? Do they have good habits? Mm-hmm. See, here's the problem with most of y'all. Most of y'all like, he gotta be 6'2", he gotta have a six-pack, he gotta be blah, 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 blah. And I was like, hey, that's gonna go away.
And that takes a lot of time to maintain.
Right, so you gotta understand when you're asking for something. So if he is that way, you realize he's in the gym often. All the time, because you don't get that just by eating. He gotta be in the gym working out so you can't just look at getting the physicality. The lifestyle is so important because I'd rather have a person that has a good lifestyle that's in tip-top shape. Because we can work on the getting into shape stuff. We can go for a walk together. We can go to the gym together. We can hire a trainer, right? And we can get in there and get fit. We can get the little thing that put up on your wall. What's it called? The thing? The what? Yeah. You can work out from your app, your phone, y'all. There's apps on your phone. We can work that out. We can get, if you're into that, nip, tuck, cut, paste, copy, and move over, flip over. You can do all that. Mm-hmm. But teaching someone to have a good lifestyle that's going to help you build your life and build your family, you need to have that up in the front.
And I would even say things that you pick up in their lifestyle are, how long have they been at their job?
Ooh.
I hate to say this because I know. I was one of those people. I remember we met, Kylan's like, I need you to hold a job for like 2 years. The same job. Stop moving around. If you got an excuse or a reason for why you got to leave every job, and it's such a short time, you are embarrassed to put it on your resume.
But guess what?
We need to figure out what it is that's why, because that says something about you. Either you're not choosing good positions to go to, or there's something going on. There's a reason
unsettled.
why
you don't know what you want.
Around.
You don't know where you're going, and it's always someone else's fault. So I got to switch jobs.
They don't like me.
It's always them, it's they. Mm-hmm. That don't work well in relationships. So if they're doing it at a job, what do you think they're going to do when they connected with you? They're going to be like, it's you. Nah, ain't them. You can't blame them. Do they have a positive attitude?
Or are they always complaining about somebody else?
Something.
It's never me. It's always all the people around me.
I'm not talking about pessimists and optimists. I'm talking about, do you have a good attitude? Mm-hmm. Right? Good attitude people know how to respond. Good attitude people don't always take things personally. Good attitude people are okay being alone. Good attitude people are people that are okay with you being upset with them, and are willing to apologize, even though they didn't do anything wrong. But for the sake of the relationship, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. That's good attitude people.
Yep.
All right. So the other thing you look at is the actions, the fruit of a person. The fruit. Listen, see, everybody talking about, you go to TikTok, you go to Instagram, everybody talking about all these physical things they want. And all that stuff you see out there is fake. They didn't filter that thing. Her eyes ain't that big. It's a scam, right? What's more important is the actions and the fruit of a person. So do they go to church and know the Lord? Right. Because we don't do, evangelistic dating.
No, we don't do
I'm
evangelistic
going to bring you into the
dating.
kingdom of God even though you don't know him, but you cute, so let's come in and get you saved so we can get married. We're not doing that. Because you know what? I can tell you, when that happens, eventually once they get you, listen, you'll be in church, and actually, where your husband at? Oh, he doesn't like this church. He doesn't want to be here. And now you're going to church by yourself. Or she didn't really grow up in church. She doesn't. Now you in church by yourself. And guess what? Now y'all got kids. So they come to church when they feel like it because mom or dad is at home because they come when they feel like it. Mm-hmm. So now the nation you thought that was going to be built on the house of God, built on the foundations of the kingdom of God, is now being built on preferences of someone you probably shouldn't have been married to. I'm just telling you right now. Do they have integrity? Do they have integrity? See, I'm telling you, give me a person with integrity before you give me beautiful eyes. Mm-hmm. And trust me, my wife has beautiful eyes. They're green. I think they're the most beautiful eyes in the world, right? Don't get me wrong, I see other attractive people, but I'm like, yeah. You cute, you're beautiful, but no. Mine's though. I turned into like a little goofy kid. Like, that's mine, though. But do they have integrity? This woman had integrity. You know why? She would say something and she would do it. And if she could not fulfill what she said she was going to do, she communicated before she was supposed to do it. See, integrity is not about you doing what you said every time. Integrity is actually having the wherewithal to do what you say, but when you can't meet that expectation or obligation, you tell them in advance of it. You know what? Hey, I agreed to do this, but here's where I'm at, and I apologize. Mm-hmm. I should have never committed to that.
Yep.
That's integrity. Do they do that? Mm-hmm. The how. How do they do stuff? How do they? See, everybody thinks it's about what they do. What you do isn't so much an issue. It's about how you do it, right? That's the problem with a lot of folks. It's not that the fact they're dating, it's how they're dating. How do they do things? How do they spend their money? How do they take care of themselves? Do they wash their car? Is their trunk full of clothes? Is their bedroom dirty? If they live with their parents, do they contribute to the household? Do they have responsibilities? I mean, right? Do they know how to budget? Now, don't get me wrong. You don't have to be. One of y'all gonna be listening, and we both money people. But the fact is that she's a CEO. She's a CFO in our household. I'm the CEO. She's CFO. All the money goes to her. So we're like, we don't invest in this, blah blah blah. I'm like, this is a good idea, babe. She's like, mm-hmm. She gonna look at it. She's like, oh man, I gotta run the calculations. Okay, I'm gonna agree with that. Yeah, here's the money. Go invest it. But you have to. How do they do that? How do they talk to their friends? How do they talk to their mother? If it's a woman, how does she talk to her father? How is that relationship working?
Does she talk to her
father?
Does she
talk? Right? And then you can get into the physical and mental capacity of a person. Do they have the mental capacity to birth? Men, look at this woman this way. Does she have the mental capacity to birth what it is you desire to have in your life? Can she, not just your physical seed, but can she carry your spiritual seed when you say, I want to write a book and help you write it? Can she bring forth, babe, I want to start a business? She can say, boom, this is how you do it. These things are important in finding love. Okay.
So character, what is their nature? What are they naturally like? This is not something you can fake. So like their nature eventually comes out. You got to pay attention when you start seeing it. And it comes up when you can't pretend. So it comes up like, you ask a quick question, it's the first response. What's the nature? What's their nature like? What are their traits? So these are the things, these are the boring things. Everyone's like, this is not on my list. Listen, I'll tell you what, coming home every night should be on your list. Coming home to your house every night should be on your list. Knowing that I know exactly where Kylan is going to be every day at every time, and if he's not there, he's going to tell me in advance, I'm not going to be there by this time, and here's where I am.
Everybody knows where everybody goes.
Those boring things bring security.
Yeah.
What are their qualities? And this is nothing to do with what their physical looks like, but what are they like? Are they kind? Or do they always have a sharp response? Are they generous? Are they sarcastic? What is those things? Because if you don't pay attention to these little things, again, we're not saying that you need to find a perfect person, but you need to know what you can handle.
Yeah.
We don't yell in our house. I'm not condemning people who yell. But we weren't going to do it in our house. It wouldn't work for either one of us. It would be like nails on a chalkboard that would eventually just erupt both of us.
Let me ask a question. What does yelling really do?
It raises your blood pressure. You win the argument when you get really loud.
You win the argument, but you lose in the relationship. Mm-hmm. Yelling doesn't help anybody. Yelling is an exercise of force to show dominance over someone else. That's really all it is. Mm-hmm. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about kids. I'm talking about two adults. They're talking. We don't yell in our house. We don't let our kids yell in the house because we're teaching them to communicate. See, what you don't understand is that one of the top two reasons people get divorced is not always infidelity. Communication is the biggest part. It's the root of a lot of issues, whether it's infidelity, whether it's money. Mm-hmm. Communication is where it's at. How do I communicate with you? Yep. How do I get you to see my point without raising my voice? Mm-hmm. If I need to control myself because I'm really, really upset, maybe I need to remove myself from the situation. Mm-hmm. So when you're finding love, these are things you're looking at. When y'all argue, you're going to find out real quick what kind of person they are.
Yep. And the other part of character that matters is their values and morals. You pick companies to go shop at for this. You need to pay attention to this when it comes to picking a person that you're getting ready to build your life with. What are their values and morals? What are their non-negotiables? I will never not tithe. That's not an option. When Kylan was laid off last March, we were like, that was never an option. We will eat peanut butter and jelly and ramen if we need to, but there will never be a time when we don't not tithe in our house, because I was raised that way. He was raised that way. So we had to keep operating those ways. But if you don't ever ask these questions, you'll make assumptions. Well, I met him in church. That don't mean nothing. Just because you met them in church, you met them at the zoo, does that make them part of the staff? It doesn't matter where you meet them. You need to ask clarifying questions to say, okay, I know what I deeply value. Let's make sure that you also deeply value, without my influence, the same things that I deeply value. So girls, you can't be like, so I really value God and this, so what do you value? If he doesn't repeat back to you what he says, he's not very smart. But if he does, you just gave him the answers to the question. Stop giving them the answers to the question. Make them share with you up front what they value, and you compare it to what's in you.
Okay, so we're gonna quickly
We're gonna go through
this because we spend a lot of time on the finding love part, because we understand the demographics of the people we're speaking to. Okay, so this is important. So the last one is wise counsel. Who are they talking to? Do they talk to God? Have they consulted their family about this relationship? Have they consulted the pastors of the church they say they lead? Right? How much you meet my boyfriend? Okay, I don't know, homeboy. Cool. Or I want you to meet my girlfriend. Cool. I don't know the chick, but hey, I'll meet her. But guess what? Our obligation is to people in this house until we find out who this person is, and then we agree that they are good for you. Until then, they on the fence. And it is what it is. Y'all quiet. I got one clap over there. It's cool.
This is why how you choose your friends matters.
Right.
Because if you've got good friends, then you should feel confident enough to bring these people to that person to these people, and really honestly say, tell me what you think. And please tell me what you see that you don't think you want to tell me. Tell me the truth.
20 years. We're married 20 years. January 28th. So we got 20 years. We still strong.
And we took each other to our friends and to our wise counsel.
So
I want to show you what a lovely marriage looks like. This is what a lovely marriage looks like. Can we put that picture up? This is a lovely marriage. Oh, isn't that lovely? See, you never thought about it like this, but can I tell you that when you're getting ready to pick a person you're going to marry, you're picking a partner you're getting ready to build a life with. So when you yoke oxen together, I'm talking about oxen, not people, but I say oxen, not people. When you're yoking oxen together, they would usually look for them to be about the same size, because the yoke has to fit evenly across both of our backs. We have to be kind of the same temperament. You don't want one that's trying to move too fast, the other one's trying to move too slow. And you also need them to kind of be not like, they have to kind of like each other, because they're going to be in close proximity for about 8 to 10 hours in a day. So when it comes to people, we're not necessarily saying you need to pick someone about your same size, about your same color, about your same speed, but it does matter, because what's the yoke on you? Everyone's got different yokes on their marriages. The yoke is that thing that holds us together. So for us, our yoke is God. So we're saying things like, okay, so yes, we both love God. That's one thing. But are we going in the same direction? There are people in this church that are saved that you could marry and you'd be unequally yoked, but they're both saved. It ain't got nothing to do with just, do we love God? But what do we want out of life? Do we want the same things out of life? There are some people who want to just be exactly where they are. And that is absolutely fine, but that is not me. Right. So if I would have married someone who's just like, I just want a good job, and I'm going to stay there for 35 years, and then I'm going to retire, that is good for whoever that's for, but that's not Rebecca. And Rebecca would be unequally yoked if I was married to somebody who was like that. I needed someone who could take me somewhere that I knew was available, but I didn't know how to get there. So I needed someone who had vision, who I could connect my life to and say, what do you want out of life?
Now let's show them the unequally yoked. This is what a lot of relationships look like.
This is what it looks like when one of you loves God and the other one only said they liked God for you to pick them.
The brown cow can't go anywhere because the weight of the black cow that is sitting down, laying down, can't go anywhere. Mm-mm. Right, you see that? He pointed out. I didn't get to it. Look at the cart. Ain't nothing on the cart. They ain't bringing nothing with them. They ain't going nowhere. Ain't bringing nothing with them. So now you're frustrated because you're trying to go somewhere, and Jimmy or Jenny, she ain't going nowhere and ain't got nothing on the trailer to go anywhere with. So y'all can't build nothing. You can't get anything done right. You're frustrated. He's frustrated. Now guess what? The D word's popping up in your relationship because y'all don't want to be together no more.
Yep. And this is the kind of relationship we don't want you to have. This kind of relationship would just suck the life out of people.
Oh.
Because you want to serve God. I don't want to tithe. I don't want to go to church. I want to raise my kids like this. I don't want to teach them like that. So it's like every part of, and it's not even just the big stuff. It could be like, I don't want to use certain words in the house, and they're like, that's not that big of a deal to me. So now you're talking one way at home, and your kids are using words you don't want them to be using. It could be, I really want to go on this great vacation. Why can't you just be happy with us going to Kansas City? What's wrong with going somewhere else? You need to be knowing these kinds of things about people before you pick them, because those little things, what was the scripture that says? It's the little foxes that spoil the vines. So initially, it might not sound like it's that big of a deal, because it's just this little thing. Let me tell you what, when my life is hooked up to you, that little thing is right next to me all the time. Mm-hmm. All the time.
And guess what? Your children are watching.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They watching how y'all argue. They watch how you fight. They watch how you manage your money. They watch how you guys communicate and talk to each other. They watch everything.
They do.
Everything. More is taught through what you do in front of them than what you say to them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I'll tell you the one thing I've always thought, because I've seen a lot of marriages like that in the church. A lot in the church. And I'm not talking, but like from my whole life, I've seen marriages like that. And I always told myself, Rebecca, I will never be the example to my kids of how not to choose. I will never be that living example. They need living examples of how to choose. Maybe you don't choose to marry someone that with my qualities because you don't feel you need them. But I never want it to be like, when I pick a wife, I sure want nothing to do like my mom. I never wanted to be that person. I never wanted my daughters to look at my husband if I had them and be like, man, I don't want to marry nobody like my dad because my dad wasn't. I don't want my kids to think that way. So it's so important, like as we're doing this, like that picture, what makes it so painful is you can't build anything like that. And that's where some relationships are, where they can't go anywhere. They can't make any traction. We can't make any headway because we weren't equally yoked. So now that we're here, we're in love, we're married, now we got to figure out how to make the best of this.
Love. How do we stay in love?
How do we fix these kinds of things?
Right. We fix these things by understanding this one scripture. It is 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7. See, a lot of y'all just kind of run through those and you don't even understand the power in the scripture. But it says, love is patient, love is kind, love is not jealous or boastful or proud. Right?
That's the next one. Or rude.
Yep. Love is not, it is not rude. It does not demand its own way. Right? It's not irritable. And it keeps no record of being wronged. Mm-hmm. We need to start living operating our relationships like this scripture does, through the love of God through our spouse. In our house, I won't go there, but the rules for staying in love are pretty simple. These are only, we got a few here, but there's not a ton of them that we can give to you today, but we're going to give as many as we can. The first one is this one. Rules for staying in love is you have to date your spouse.
We don't stop once we got married.
The stuff you do to get them on a date, the flowers you bought, the patience you exhibit, the kindness you show them, you have to continue that through your relationship. Otherwise, you was perpetrating a fraud. And you done hoodwinked them into getting married. Now you married, so now you're going to switch up and start being a jerk? No. No, the same level of attentiveness you gave her to get her to marry you because you enjoy being with them and liked the way they look and liked how they talk, you have to do that in the marriage too. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you right now. So the other thing is this. We have to give the best of ourselves to each other.
Yeah, we don't get what's left over.
Don't give MUD the best of your respect and love and care, and then come home and treat your spouse like they're a dog. Mm-hmm. They should get the best of you at all times. You have to. Mm-hmm. Right.
They need to, and one of the things we have is give me the benefit of the doubt.
Oh.
Assume, if you're going to make an assumption about me, assume I have your best interests at heart.
I wasn't trying to make you upset.
Assume that I am not trying to tear you down. Assume that if I said something and it came out ugly,
I wasn't trying to insult you.
I didn't mean to. Assume that the person that stood opposite of you 20 years ago in a white dress or a tuxedo actually meant what I said when I said I committed to love you for the rest of your life. So we've made this rule. If it came out wrong, assume I didn't mean it that way.
Right.
Give me the benefit of the doubt. If you don't assume the best of everybody else in the world and you assume the worst of your spouse.
Right.
We need to do that. Another thing we talked about was not extending courtesies to others that we don't give our spouse. We found ourselves in about, year 5?
Yeah.
We were kind of like, we're kind of getting a little rude to
Nippy,
each other.
yeah.
Like
What's going
nippy.
on?
Like, how about we remind yourselves, like, we say please to strangers. Why don't we say please to each other? Like, let's not, and you think that's little, but those little common courtesies, your spouse,
Matter.
especially when you don't show them, is paying attention to how you're nice and sweet and kind, and then you turn into a snake when you're alone with them. We need to maintain just those little please and thank you, and I appreciate you, and all the little kindnesses that have nothing to do with the bedroom. But they have everything to do with what's going to happen in the bedroom.
True.
Because nothing's going to happen in the bedroom if you're being mean all the time.
Don't lose respect for each other. Mm-hmm. Right? But here's the thing. You will disagree. Right? Don't fight, figure it out.
Yep.
You're not in a battle with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Glenn's talked about it on Thursday for those who missed it.
That was good.
This is good. I was like, we're taking that.
We're taking that home.
Because a lot of times we sit in our little sitting room and we're talking and we're across from each other.
Yep. So that feels
so now
like
we're doing this.
It feels like something's in the middle.
Right. But if we sit like this, now we can look at what's going on in our lives like, okay, this thing right here has got to get fixed.
Yes.
I'm not going to let this split us in the middle here and cause division in our household.
Yep. Creating rules for disagreements. One of the rules we have is you don't get to bring something up after 6 months.
Nope.
If somebody messed up, you got to have a love forgives and love does not keep a record of wrongs. For the oldest children, we had to add this to our list, and love does not insist on being right.
Because oldest kids, we can tell you everything you did. Oh, no, year 1, month 2, you did X, Y, Z, and we'll go down the list. Yep. So in our household, we're like, no, we don't do that. We address it. Right? Mm-hmm. But after it's been 6 months, you got to bring it. It's a way you bring it to the conversation.
Yep, this is a good one. You got to talk about that one.
What? Oh, don't invite your spouse in the spaces God belongs. Don't bring your spouse in the space that God's supposed to be in. Because here's the thing, because they're not your God. They're not your source. They're not your supplier. They're not your strength. Mm-hmm. They're not your peace. They're not your provider. They're your spouse, and they're called to help you.
Yes.
Right? So don't put them in a place where God is supposed to be, because when you do that, you're telling God that he doesn't matter and they matter more. And man will make a mistake and they will fail you.
Yes.
Okay, we're not perfect.
We're not perfect. That also goes towards when it comes to maintaining your independent self. We are still individuals that are married to each other.
Yeah.
So we each have our own friends. We have joint friends, but we have our own friends. I have hobbies, he has hobbies. We don't lose sight of those things because it's just important that we don't do that. Because if I merge into Kylan, then I'm losing myself. We are the Crawfords. We're not Kylan 1.0 and 2.0. We are the Crawfords.
Right. We mentioned this earlier. The things you did to get them is the things you do to keep them. Mm-hmm. Right? The next one is you got to have freedom to communicate things whether you like them or not.
Yes. Safety to communicate.
Safety. So there was a point in our marriage, real quick, where I was still struggling with pornography. And I had to tell her, if I can give any man any advice, you're married, whatever it is you're struggling with, the best person you can tell is your wife. It'll change your life. You will be free. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you right now. Thank God I'm free. I am free as a bird. I'm telling you right now. And it was because I told my wife. I said, babe, I told you that I was struggling with this before we got married, right? And it was something that happened in my past. But now this thing is still coming up in my mind. And she's like, okay, babe. She grabbed my hand and started praying with me in the car. She said, are you okay? Do you need something? I mean, everything. So this is so important. Tell your wife those things. Tell your husband those deep, crazy secrets that you're scared. She should know everything. This is my best friend right here. We can go on vacation by ourselves, and we having a good old time. We laughing, cracking jokes, eating out, shopping. We doing it all. That's what has to be in your life. But look, we can't. I'm gonna give you this last one, and then we got to cut it. And Pastor Josh said we're going to finish this on Wednesday for you guys, okay? So we'll talk about keeping it hot. We're going to go through those lists and get some details on it. The last one is this. Refrain from complaining or negative talk.
To other people about your spouse.
You know what I'm talking about? You go golfing with the guys and, man, my wife, she just, and you sit there and y'all just talking negatively about your spouse. I don't get involved in those conversations. I quickly exit. I stay exit stage left. I'm out if you start doing that. I don't want to have those conversations. We all have challenges, but I don't want to hear you talk bad about your wife. Because I don't want that in my relationship, because I don't want my view or perspective skewed because of what's going on in your life. Me come home and look at my wife funny, and now I'm doing the same thing you're doing. Because birds of the same feather, what? Flock together. And I ain't rocking with that. All right? Well, look, we really and truly hope you learned something today, right? Thank you so much. We're honored, and in all honesty, I'm honored and I'm humbled too, just to share with you guys this morning, but to sit in this seat as the associate pastor at this church that I helped build, that I was born in, been here since the beginning. It's an honor to be here, and I'm forever grateful to God, because what I've learned over my life is that when you follow God, He always provides, and He always makes a way. Always. He always makes a way. And no matter what you're going through in your life right now with your relationships, no matter what you might be struggling with, it doesn't matter. God can work in the middle of that. He just needs you two to agree. He just needs you both to agree that, hey, we're going to work this thing out. We're not going to call it quits. We're not going to throw in the towel if you're married. Right? If you aren't married and you're trying to find love, involve those people. Involve the right people, because it's so important to the success of your life. And you'll see how God will open doors and windows and do things you never dreamed of by you being obedient to follow these words of wisdom and advice that we've taken from the